Today, I wanted to go over a part of this section of Piers Morgan's debate between Elica Lebon, a Iranian British attorney, and libertarian comedian Dave Smith. I just want to debunk and kind of go over her nonsense. So let's get straight into the video.
You wanted to come
Yeah,
on, but specifically with Dave Smith, you think he's wrong
yeah.
about absolutely everything. So just outline your main complaints about Dave
Well,
Smith.
I don't have an outline, but I think I can just go off of everything that he says. In this example, you correctly pointed out what the Soviet Union was doing. You correctly pointed out that they would use these kernel of truths as part of their disinformation campaigns. But the question is, what were their disinformation campaigns rooted in? Well, we know what the entire, communist agenda was, and that was demoralization of the West in order to sort of gain this traction internally within the West so that they would overthrow their own government. So the whole point of Soviet disinformation and ideological subversion was to convince people that the West and Israel was the source of all evil in the world. All of the KGB defectors have said the same thing. Yuri Bezmenov, Mikhail Pachepa. But the way they talk about how this is achieved, they talk about demoralization. And demoralization is the point where you can no longer tell truth from fiction. You can no longer tell right from wrong. And what happens when you reach that stage? You start making moral equivalencies between liberal democracies and terrorists and autocrats. So,
Okay, she's broadly true about Stalin's regime. He did have a massive misinformation and disinformation campaign. Obviously, he was an authoritarian fascist, like, there's no excuse, whatever. Okay, so she's now saying, oh, there's no equivalence between so-called liberal democracies, which they always say Israel is. But is that true? Well, there's a real tension in Israel because it's a settler colonial project. It's got the West Bank, it's got Gaza, and that kind of illusion or perception of democracy. So that you can't really have both, especially in the 21st century. So let's look at Netanyahu. Well, he's wanted for corruption. He's sustained a genocide over the last, well, nearly 2 years at this point. He now is wanting a war with Iran to basically mean that he won't go to jail, because we know that's the only way he's not going to go to jail, because he's not that popular. Although he kind of, for some people, he's kind of decreasing in popularity. So, is it a democracy? Well, not when you have that inequalities. I think there's between 1948, 2017, you have at least 62 laws that disenfranchise and undermine the rights of Palestinians and Arabs. And a key cornerstone of a democracy is equality. Everybody is equal under the law, they get the same rights, the same votes. This is not the case in Palestine. So you can't really call yourself a liberal democracy if you're a settler colonial project. You've committed an ongoing genocide. The leaders wanted for corruption. You have 62 laws on the books that alienate, disenfranchise a certain population. One in 2023 basically de facto determined that Palestinians are second-class citizens. This is not what a democracy is. So please don't believe this democracy talking point, because it's simply not true. And it is just designed to kind of make it seem like, oh, no, we're not committing a genocide. We can't do that. Democracies, liberal democracies, don't do occupations and settler colonial projects. That's it. And if you think about it more than 2 seconds, you go, wait a minute. I have some questions.
when you say there, yes, I do see that the Islamic Republic are terrorists, but I don't see how other liberal democracies are not terrorists as well. That is exactly the ideological subversion, which you correctly.
No, democracies can be terrorists. Like, terrorist is just an attack on civilian populations through political means, like, or with a political project. It's nothing to do with whether you're a fascist, democracy, authoritarian, totalitarian, theocracy. Like, see, this is so ironic that she's saying this and then trying to obfuscate and kind of switch it around. It's insane.
Identified, but don't see how it's a part of your own talking points.
Dave?
No, I mean, that's just a talking point yourself there. I mean, it's just not true. I know that the defenders of Israel often like to use this term moral equivalency, but it's just made up and doesn't apply to what I'm saying at all. I mean, if I were to say that I in no way ever said that the society of Iran is identical to the society of Israel, or that the people or the citizens of that country both enjoy the same amount of liberty, I've never said there are massive differences. Listen, I would say that American society, certainly within America, was far superior to Iraqi society under Saddam Hussein. But you can say that and also say that George W. Bush launched an illegal war in Iraq. These things aren't contradictory at all. And so what I'm talking about is, let me finish. What I'm talking about here is that the IDF is committing acts of terrorism. And so you can say it doesn't count when a government does it, but there's no objective moral standard to that. So I'm not making an equivalence.
See, that's the thing, because she's got an impossible task as an attorney. You've got to like justify genocide, ethnostate, settler colonial projects, apartheid, killing of children. And how do you do that? It is difficult. You have to kind of twist yourself in pretzels and go, well, we're a liberal democracy. And people go, oh, that means when America and the UK do it, it's fine because we're the good guys.
See between anything. I'm just pointing out that these two groups both have committed terrorism. And so in the same sense that you could point out how two people have both committed the same crime, that is not the same as saying those two people are identical in every way.
Simple.
So when you, so you are drawing these moral equivalencies and you're doing exactly.
Yes, because they're the same. It doesn't matter. Terrorism is terrorism. It's simple stuff. But for her, it's justified when Israel does. And she's kind of, the tell's there, isn't it?
Exactly that. You're saying, I'm just saying, how is the IDF different to Hamas? How is the IDF different to the Islamic?
No, well, they are different. The IDF have killed more children than Hamas have, so they're worse, objectively. Like, there's no question on that.
Public.
I didn't say that. No, you're saying that. There are, I could list off right now. Hold on. Because you're starting with completely straw manning my position. So let's just, before you just argue,
Well, all you'd have to do is ask the question, oh, well, who's killed more people? Who's killed more children? The IDF or Hamas? And will she be able to answer that question? Probably not.
Hold on. So before you argue with what you made up, instead of arguing with what I'm saying, I could name 1,000 differences between Hamas and the IDF. I'm not saying there's no difference between them.
Clarify what you're saying.
I don't think it could be any clearer.
He said that when one group of people do terrorism and the other group, it's both bad. It's really a simple point, but the fact she can't get that says quite a lot.
I'm saying they both commit horrific acts. Both kill innocent people.
You have said now, and you've said online on Twitter when you were debating people, you asked this exact question, which is exactly what a demoralized person would ask. How is this different to that? How is Israel doing this different to that? Now, let me just start by saying,
hold on. This is like a basic IQ test. Yeah. I could say, how is this act different from this act? That's not saying how is this entity identical to this other entity. The point is that targeting innocent. Sure.
This it's exactly like saying, how is it different between a cop and a robber when they're both pointing guns at each other and they're both making each other feel threatened? Isn't that the exact same thing? Yeah.
What? That's not an analogy that works at all. So, they're saying like, oh, well, Israel's like the cop, they're here to protect. That's a false analogy. It doesn't work at all. And also, you're assuming the intent of the cop. What if the cop is not very good at his job and kills people indiscriminately? Like, that doesn't work because you're just assuming that the cop's in the right there structurally, and like the criminal, maybe the criminal is in the right in this instance. Like, it's just so stupid. That just doesn't work as an analogy. You need that equivalent, like, because what she's saying is like, oh, yes, it's justified when cops kill people. I.e., when Israel does it, it's justified. It's like insane.
Sure, it is the exact same act, but it is a different motivation. Okay, that's what the difference is.
See, that's the thing. Motivation. They think it's justified. It's justified when Israel kills children. It's justified. It's insane.
Because when you have a regime like the Islamic Republic or Hamas, that's literally,
Or the regime of Israel that has killed maybe hundreds of thousands of people at this point. I mean, come on. You've got to take that seriously at some point.
literal inception and existence is based on the destruction of Israel and death to
What about the actual destruction that's happened in Gaza? It drives you insane.
America, and basically just killing everybody who disagrees with their ideology, and another entity whose focus is on protecting its people. Yes, the actions may
How is this protecting Israelis? How is it genocide de facto protecting Israelis? Like, anti-Semitism over the last couple of years has gone up massively. It's a real problem. Like, hate crimes towards Jewish people and Israelis has gone up. This has not protected them in any way.
they look the same. And in fact, the actions may be just as wrong as each other. They may be just as brutal and terroristic as each other, but the motivation is different. And to be demoralized means to not understand
But
that.
hang on a second. All right, let me jump in there.
Doesn't make
Because
sense.
actually,
Doesn't make
what
sense.
difference does it make to the innocent civilians who are...
Doesn't make a difference.
Well, hang on. What difference does it
What? That doesn't make sense. So it's justified. Of course it doesn't. No, it doesn't, because it doesn't matter what the motivations are. Like, if I kill someone, it doesn't matter what my motivations are. I've killed them. I'm a consequentialist. My actions, the consequence of my actions are what matter. Like, okay, maybe I didn't intend it, manslaughter, but I'm still going to jail.
mean to innocent civilians who are killed, whether
Doesn't.
one has a better, motivation for doing it? Because my problem with what Israel's doing in Gaza is that, in direct contrast to what it did in Lebanon with Hezbollah, in direct contrast to what it did in Iran, both very precise, very targeted, very successful operations, minimal civilian casualties. In Gaza, in Gaza, the strategy has been completely different. It's been a strategy of sort of nihilism, where they just destroy everything in Gaza. Almost every hospital is either now... Well, hang on, let me finish. Is either destroyed or damaged in some way. We know this actually because we have to listen to British doctors who've come out and told everybody what is actually going on there, because, of course, international journalists are still banned by the IDF, even though they were allowed in previous conflicts in Gaza. They're not allowed in to verify anything in this one, which I find very suspicious. But here's my point, Elica. I defended Israel's right to defend itself after October the 7th, not least because the Hamas spokesman went public almost immediately and said, we want to keep doing this. So I completely understand Israel's not just a need or a right, but a duty to defend its people. However, what we've seen in the last few months, with a 3-month blockade of starvation of already war-torn, impoverished people, and then this constant bombardment, including in the last 6 weeks, endless bombardments of people who are desperately lining up to get food. Now, they are dying, it seems very mysteriously. The IDF says we shot in the air as warnings. Sometimes they use other language, which means they may have shot towards people they saw as a threat, or they are now investigating what happened. I read out earlier in a previous debate about this, all the different times this has happened in the last 6 weeks. It's endless. And the idea that the IDF are not killing people in this way, when everybody else involved says they are, is ridiculous. So the point I think Dave is making, quite straightforwardly, is that what the IDF's been doing in the last 3 months, to me, crosses any line of self-defense and could absolutely be categorized as terrorizing the innocent people of Gaza. Now, it doesn't mean they're not in their heads going... In their heads, they're going after Hamas. Their motivation is, we want to kill the bad guys. But they have lost all sense of proportion, and they are now behaving in a way that if other people were doing it to them, they would categorize as terrorism.
We'll end on her response. Let's see what she pulls out the bag now.
Okay, so let me just answer you in 2 points. First of all, let me ask you this question. If Hamas was entirely separated from the civilian population, let's say it was totally down north and everyone else, up north and everyone else was down south, do you think that we'd see these civilian casualties?
But no.
Oh my God. She's just fucking evil. Like, just can't answer the question. Like, really, Piers Morgan is a grifter. He doesn't care. He has no values. Let's not pretend he cares about the Palestinian people. But he's asking the right questions here. But she has no fucking answer. She is just fucking evil. Like, this is it. It's just like, well, it's the same old talking points. No, you have a responsibility to, because they've got precise missiles. Let's not act like Israel doesn't have the most sophisticated AI missiles on the planet given to them by America and the UK. We're going to end there because I can't deal with it. It's so brazen. They're just so bad at it. I mean, this woman's an attorney and she can't even insane. I'll see you next time.